Welcome to the Left Hemispheres Podcast. It's Wednesday, November 14th, 2012. With me, as always, is Steve.
Hello.
Nick.
Hello.
Adam couldn't be here this week, so we got Andy again.
Woohoo. Yay.
And I'm Jack.
Yay, me.
Once again, everybody, if you have questions, comments, etc., you can get a hold of us at lefthemispheres@gmail.com, Twitter @lefthemispheres. You can find us on Google+, on Facebook, all that good stuff.
Submit questions.
Tell us what you want us to do. The monkeys need to know how to dance. Okay, so the election happened. When we left off, we had a really long show about the election.
Yes.
Yeah, and what aired was only, about
half.
50% of what was recorded. 3.5 hours recorded.
I was very tired at work the next day.
Oh, I was ruined and hurt.
That, in addition to the fact that, I had been drinking for 14 hours.
Oh.
Yeah, that was one of the things that got cut was when Nick said, I've been drinking since 10 a.m.
Nice.
Andy, how you doing?
Doing okay, man. Yeah, I'm doing fine. I've been really busy, and I've been doing okay.
Busy scooping the onion?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, man. And someone has to do a spoof on those stupid secessionist online petitions.
What a bunch of fucksticks.
Hey, all 50 states now.
There's a spoof petition on there. I was looking at it today. Somebody put up a petition saying, anyone who signed a petition should be deported.
I saw that one before. I didn't want to write such an obvious petition, so I wrote a spoofier spoof than that one.
Spoofier spoof.
Yeah. You can't do the. I feel it's beneath me to do the garden variety spoof.
Yes,
it has to be something a little bit edgier.
A little more Ian Fleming.
Well, you've been on the Left Hemispheres podcast, so you have to step up your game a bit.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
Well, while we're talking about Republicans losing their shit over the election.
Yeah. It's been a week.
They completely lost their minds.
And they do not seem to be letting up, and I really thought it would just kind of die down. It's not. They're actually getting crazier. The secessionist stuff, for one. And then there's the Christian nationalists that are just losing their shit. Donald Trump, yeah.
Calling for a revolution. We're not a democracy anymore because his candidate didn't fucking win.
Yeah.
And I absolutely laughed myself silly over this first article. This what the right doesn't get about elections, which was a pretty big hoopla on the net, I guess. It was enough to get the guy to shut down his blog.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This was the Christian Men's Defense, whatever.
Yeah, apparently it's Christian guys whose wives left them and who are really, really bitter.
Yeah. In the FTV vernacular, MRAs.
Right.
I got halfway through this article and it's just like, so your point is Obama won the election because women are whores. What?
Well, that's pretty much it. The right here. I mean, I didn't even read this one, but the first thing my eyes went to right in the middle there is the right to slut.
Right.
I guess the right to slut without responsibility of consequences.
Obama appealed to rich white sluts by forcing someone else, the Catholic Church, to pay for their birth control. Yeah, that's why they voted for him. Uh-huh.
And black people only vote for Democrats because all blacks are sluts. That's the next portion there. What?
Yeah. He goes from misogyny straight into the racism.
Right.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he really just, it's a 1-2 punch.
Is it any surprise considering what's come out this past week?
No. This is, I really thought that, I guess against my better judgment, I thought the more sane portions of the Republican Party would emerge more. And I bet you they want to. They're just afraid. Because I know they exist. I know them. Some of the, you know what I mean? Like, just your kind of run-of-the-mill, wait a minute, I don't think we should be pissing money away on this or that. But
they're probably laying low right now until the big votes come up.
Yeah.
Until the money votes come up? Huh.
Well, yeah. The immigration votes that are going to come up, the fiscal cliff votes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how they're in any kind of strong bargaining position on the fiscal cliff thing. I mean, nobody wants to go over the fiscal cliff, but Obama's in a position where I want to raise taxes, and that's exactly what's going to happen if you don't do something.
Right, and 60% of the American people have come out in favor of raising taxes.
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys in the House of Reps, they come from very red districts. And they might just be stupid enough and true believers.
Yeah.
Which is always the pathway to destruction. And that's where I think I was wrong in my initial assessment that, I thought they were going to kind of chill out, but it really seems like they're just thrashing about like a wounded animal. Despite all the liberal bravado that you see on the internet, how the Republican Party is over, that's a foolish stance to take.
That's just dick sucking their own dicks.
It totally is. I'm actually somewhat shocked by the level of vitriol that's remaining. And I mean, from certain quarters, I'm not surprised. Like the Christian nationalists, which we'll get to in a little bit. But this asshole right here, from the Christian Men's Defense, whatever the hell it was, this election cycle shows that the slut vote is real and Republicans lose because they discount the existence of original sin in women.
Right. I mean, that seriously sounds like he's calling for doing away with the women's right to vote.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a completely...
Oh, he said something in there. One thing one has to remember about women, especially slutty ones. They usually don't make decisions based on reason.
Which was one of the... there was a thing going around Facebook, and it was a pamphlet from of an anti-suffragist organization from when the suffrage amendment was going through for women. And that was one of the points on the flyer was women don't think, they just feel. And
yeah, so unreal.
Yeah, that's there's a video here. I don't know the legalities of us being able to sample this.
Well, you are allowed to, as long as you are providing commentary or analysis.
Oh, okay. Well, Laura Ingram's a fucking idiot, and here's why.
The danger of moving to the middle. That's the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. I received a call today from a reporter asking me if Mitt Romney lost because of talk radio and the Tea Party, and whether the GOP had to soften its views to appeal to women and to Latinos. Funny, the media pushed that same narrative after the GOP's 2006 midterm wipeout and after McCain's 2008 loss to Obama. The fact is, talk radio continues to thrive while moderate Republicans like John McCain and to some extent Mitt Romney continue to lose presidential elections. Where's the evidence that pro-abortion or pro-gay marriage or pro-amnesty but fiscally conservative candidates are the solution to the GOP's problem? Moderates like Scott Brown and Charlie Summers just lost their Senate races in Massachusetts and Maine, both blue states. Would their type of Republican have won in conservative red states? Of course not. Until more liberal Republicans start winning their races, why should they dictate the terms of a new GOP agenda? Yes, Republicans, of course, they need to attract more single women and Latinos. But pandering isn't the answer. Good policy and good politics is. If you believe, like I do, that conservative social and economic policies are the best hope for the nation, then abandoning your positions to try to become more popular is a path to complete irrelevance. Did Barack Obama moderate his views after the 2010 midterms? Did he roll back parts of Obamacare? Did he stop green energy subsidies? Nope. Instead, he aggressively pursued his liberal agenda by executive order and with new smart messaging. And he won re-election.
Wow. What a horrible, horrible failure of reason.
Seriously.
No, it's really pathetic. And you know what? Keep going right. Just keep digging yourself. Just keep digging yourself in on the conservative values. You'll lose. Go ahead, do it. Here's a shovel. I beg you to just keep going.
I think Laura Ingram's trying to be like the head fluffer for the Tea Party.
Right, a position which had been held by Ann Coulter, but so many people vomited at the idea.
It does kind of play into the right-wing authoritarian mentality, though, where she's basically saying, it doesn't matter what you believe, people will vote for you as long as you really, really believe it.
Right.
Which is
asinine. I mean, her whole point about, like Scott Brown didn't win in Massachusetts, and it's a blue state, and he's a liberal Republican, which I think is a foul. He is not a liberal Republican. He has some very conservative views. He is not a blue dog. Or sorry, blue dogs are Democrats. He's not a rhino. That's the whole idea behind with McCain having Sarah Palin as a running mate, and with Romney having Paul Ryan as running mates. To throw these teabaggers in there, to attract, the right wing, the severe right wing end of the Republican Party, as if those people were going to vote for Obama anyway.
Right. That's exactly like she said. If Scott Brown was in a severely red state, do you think he would have gotten reelected? Well, yes, because they sure as fuck weren't going to vote for the Democrat.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it is a total failure of logic and reason. Everything she just said. It's just false analogies abound.
She wants to have her cake and eat it too. At one hand, she says that the Republicans can't pander, but yet they still have to change their policy or to do smart policy or something like that.
Well, that's still it's very insulting and condescending to women and Latinos to say the only reason why they're voting for the Democrats is because they're pandering.
Oh, yeah. She's just talking to her base, basically. She's just acting like a fluffer. And she's not talking to Latinos right now. She's just trying to keep the hard on of the Tea Party. And this is, she's trying at one time to say, hey, we're doing the right thing here. But, we might have to do one or two things down the line.
Maybe a little ass play.
Maybe.
And by the way, that video is brought to you by On Knees for Jesus.
A great site.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I don't know where this guy finds everything, but he's pretty cool.
And it just, there's still this ridiculous, it's not even an overtone. It's pretty blatant at this point. I mean, that the election, when you look at how the electoral vote broke down by statistics, there's certainly a good argument to be made that people were voting for Mitt Romney because they're white and afraid.
There is no other logical reason why. The part of the Southern Christian, I don't want to say Southern, the evangelical Christian narrative for the past 30, 40 years, aside from attacking, of course, secular progressives, time and time again, even up to about 9 months ago, or almost a year ago, at the Values Voters Summit, was to just attack Mormonism, right? This will get to the racist thing, but they set themselves up to just attack Mormonism, and guess who ended up being their candidate against the black guy? The Mormon. And
then all of a sudden he was a Christian.
Yeah, and then very suddenly he was a Christian. I mean, some of the shit that they would say about Mormonism would make us as antitheists blush. Just because it was, unhinged, of course, and full of supernatural hokum. But, they try to set this narrative up, and then this is the guy that they end up having to put up against, the evil black socialist false Christian, or however you want to put it. And to see people absolutely lose their minds over the fact that this guy lost to a Christian, I find the irony in this astounding. The cultists lost to the Christian, and they're losing their damn minds. And, going back to, I think it was the first or the second podcast when we talked about that Tim Wise article, where it just totally lays bare all the racism in the attacks on Obama. We don't need to revisit that, but I just find the whole thing extraordinarily ironic.
Well, that makes sense, but I think we talked about this before, is that if Christians don't even know their own religion, how the hell are they going to get their minds around, Mormonism?
Yeah. Well, they don't have to get their minds around it. They're just told that it was a cult for so many years. I'm just trying to point out in a long way that I find it funny that they had the Mormon candidate who was a cult member in their own vernacular up against the Christian, and they desperately wanted the Christian to lose and the Mormon to get in because just of the way they viewed everything. And it all pretty much boils down to racism and just fear of the left in general, however irrational as that may be.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's tribalism. People are afraid. Certain segments of the population are afraid that they're losing power in the country, and it's true to some extent.
It has less to do with them actually being attacked and more with a loss of privilege.
Yeah.
Chipping away at white privilege, Christian privilege. This first link here from I acknowledge classwarfareexists.com. Mr. Tracy Watson, there's a nice little screenshot of his Facebook page that somebody was industrious enough to take a snapshot of before it was deleted. But the title of the post is, "It's official, I hate this nigger-loving Muslim country, ... Just saying."
Yeah.
Well, which I dealt with that live on election night.
Yeah, you did.
I was at the bar, restaurant, out in the hotel parking lot. And, of course, they had Fox News on, which is actually kind of – I'm in Minnesota, so it's kind of surprising they had Fox on, but because it is a fairly liberal state. But so they were watching it, and, the results are coming, they're coming. And then once Fox News called it for Obama, this one guy who I work with absolutely lost it. And it was nigger this and nigger that. I can't believe that nigger got reelected. And I'm getting more and more pissed off. And then the last straw was one of the other guys said, "It'll only take about 100 grains." And then the guy who was, who's been ranting said, "Yeah, he just needs to take a bullet to the head." And I lost it. I flipped out, and in my best Marine Corps voice, started shouting about treason and peaceful transition of power. But I was like, in for a penny, in for a pound. Yeah. It's what's fucking right. So, but I couldn't believe that I was hearing that. Assholes.
Yeah. Well, the other article we had on the racist agenda was a site called Stuff Black People Don't Like, which was, I believe it's a parody of Stuff White People Like.
Yeah.
Which was it's a fantastic satirical site.
The original.
Yeah.
Stuff White People Like. That is brilliant. This, not so much.
No, this isn't. This is just hate trolling, I think. But this is actually an article that he put up before the election saying a Romney victory means white people telling black people no, as if that's their place. And it's just.
That idea of manifest destiny is still there. It's part of American exceptionalism.
Where do you think that came from? Be fruitful and multiply.
Right. Well, the Genesis and Exodus are two long tirades on racial purity and privilege and ownership, divine right to own a certain part of the world and their place in the world.
Entitlements, if you will.
Ah, yes, entitlements based upon race. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, here's a brilliant sentence, and by brilliant, I mean totally fucked up, in this what a Romney victory means. Make no mistake, Mitt Romney is not the right choice for America. The Republican field was so poor during the primaries that a pizza executive, a lifetime beneficiary of white guilt affirmative action, was once the front runner.
Wow.
Referring to what the hell is his name? Herman King, who's completely batshit crazy. But
he's one of the people calling for a revolution in the Republic.
Yeah, he is. I mean, no love for the man, but it got nothing to do with him being black. It's got a lot to do with him being a fucking lunatic.
I think he's less of a lunatic than he gets taken for a lot of the time. I don't think he was really running for president. I think he was on a book tour, kind of like Gingrich was. You know?
Well, yeah.
So
Gingrich. Sorry, that's kind of my reaction whenever I hear his name.
Well,
like
Gingrich
Newman.
Gingrich has a lot of backpedaling to do now because he was saying that it was going to be 332 Romney. Mm-hmm. So he was.
All those delusional bastards were the Dick Morris. Seriously, there's a lot of there is actually somewhat of a backlash. It'll get swallowed up in the rage porn that is Fox News. But there was a lot of backlash against Fox News initially. Like, what the fuck? One person after another saying that Obama was going to get crushed. And it was the other way around, at least electorally. And by the way, morons, Obama still won the popular vote.
Mm-hmm. By a healthy majority.
I keep seeing that everywhere, that he didn't even win that. The fuck? Do you understand what 51% means?
No, they don't. It's clear.
Split.
It's clear that numbers are just a theory.
Oh, just liberal math, man. Liberal math.
It's probably some of that set theory bullshit.
We still never figured out what their problem with set theory is, have we?
It creates absolutes that they can't fucking wrap their heads around.
They just cannot get over the fact that they just don't understand math because it's liberal lies.
I was watching Fox News the day after the election, and it struck me like it was a death cult, like one of these UFO cults that, the fucking mothership's supposed to show up, and everyone goes up into the mothership, and the mothership never shows up.
Yeah, that's great. That's perfect, actually. That was the look on Megyn Kelly's face. That was honestly the look on Megyn Kelly's face right when they called it. Because I immediately switched over to Fox News just for the Schadenfreude. And just sitting there, like Karl Rove is blowing his fucking stack, and Megyn Kelly's just sitting there like Bambi in headlights. It was a thing of beauty.
It did get called.
I was waiting for that Rove aneurysm.
It did get called a lot faster than even I thought it was gonna.
Anyway, on to the fun stuff, because this shit could be like Andy could write this, and you wouldn't know any better. It's just so insane. So. This is after Obama's re-election. The religious right demands repentance and resistance. This is a series of quotes, and it has embedded. You can go here and listen to the actual live conversation that this comes from. But it has a whole slew of people. Tony Perkins from the FRC. And by the way, I was talking about this crap the other day with some people that, don't live in our little corner of the internet. And I started rattling off names like Tony Perkins of the Family Research Council, and everyone's looking at me like I'm talking in Czechoslovakian, and I had to stop myself and go, "Oh right,
those are two different languages. Czech, and Slovakian are different languages. Just saying.
Anyway, I forget that people don't, and this is the thing, people just don't know this stuff, and I don't know if that's good or bad for my future mental health. However, so we have Tony Perkins here saying, I think there is going to be a temptation for some, and I'll insert Christians there, to go into the mountaintop and wait for the rapture, but that's not what the instruction manual God has given us. And then the host of the show, the radio show that he was on, Janet Mefford, was stating, at least I have my health until the death panels tell me I can't have the treatment I need in about 20 years when I need something substantive and they tell me I'm too old. Obviously referring to the continued lie of the death panels within Obamacare.
Can I say something about the Obamacare stuff? Because Friday, which will be yesterday when everybody's hearing this, is the due date for the governors to tell the federal government whether they're going to set up their own healthcare exchange in state or whether they're going to let the federal government set one up for them.
There's only about a dozen that have actually done it so far.
And it's all the right-wing conservative governors who are saying, no, we're not going to do it. Which, if your platform is to take power away from the federal government and give it back to the states, why wouldn't you want to maintain control of that exchange? I don't understand.
They're waiting for WhiteHouse.org to respond to those secession.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get out of it if they just let us leave. It just blows my mind that they're defaulting to exactly the thing they don't want to happen.
Andy, since you've lived under Romney care,
also known as Obamacare.
Right, yes. So I mean, what has your experience been with that?
For me, we've always had, my wife and I, we've always had private insurance through our job. I mean, that's never changed.
You have a job?
Yeah, I have a job, believe it or not. I just don't sit around masturbating and thinking up funny little jokes all day. I actually go to work occasionally.
In between masturbating and thinking about funny jokes.
Right. And sometimes they're all combined together. Well, not but I have friends who are freelancers. They're in the arts and everything, and they use the health system provided by the state, and they seem to be doing pretty well by it. The healthcare hasn't fallen into the pit here in Massachusetts. Things are going pretty swell.
So what you're saying is that the naysayers on healthcare are wrong.
I think if they actually had, I think the Secular Coalition should have field trips for people in very red states to come to Massachusetts and see what gay marriage, the horrors, my friends, the horrors that gay marriage and universal health care and a good education system have wrought on our society.
If you organize those field trips, though, the first thing they're going to say is that we're putting them in buses and shipping them off to re-education camps.
I was just going to
Massachusetts, America.
I was going to use the gas truck joke there. But there's no way they'd get in that van, man. Yeah, let's all just pull up into Arkansas. Hey, I'm an atheist. You want to hop in my van? I'm going to take you up to Massachusetts so you can see how two gay guys is not that big of a threat to your life, how healthcare is pretty cool, and how education will improve your life. I'd be shot dead on sight.
Oh, yeah, this is true.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've ever been to Arkansas.
That's actually one of my good friends who now lives in Pittsburgh, a good friend of mine from the Marine Corps. She's from Arkansas originally, and she started she was one of the founders of the I can't remember the exact name, the Arkansas Atheist Network. Basically, it was an online thing, and also a physical, geographically related thing. But I was I actually didn't know this until we kind of reconnected in Pittsburgh, and I was like, that's pretty fucking ballsy. To be an atheist in Arkansas and to put your name out there.
Well, yeah.
They're there. There are people in Arkansas that are reasonable.
Well, that was this wasn't in any of the links, but I had put a link onto
Facebook
this afternoon where somebody had made a map and they broke up instead of red state, blue state, they had the map shaded by popular vote counts.
Yeah.
And there's an awful lot of purple in this country. It's just the way it is, So to say the state's hard red.
The red state, blue state thing is horrible on both sides.
It really is.
Because it really doesn't represent anything. I mean, I understand how it evolved to be like that because of the Electoral College, but it doesn't really show how blue some of the red states are and how red some of the blue states. We're from Pennsylvania, Jack, Nick, and I, and this is every election I'm fucking scared shitless that's going to go red. That's how close it is. It always goes blue, but one of these fucking elections it's going to go red.
Right.
It just teeters ever so slightly towards blue because of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else,
and Harrisburg and Erie, and the other large cities as well.
No, Harrisburg's all red, man.
Dauphin County show up as blue.
That's true. But all the surrounding counties, the suburbs.
Right, the suburbs. But Harrisburg, the city, York, the city, Erie. Yeah. There's Scranton. I think Scranton was the lone blue area.
Yeah, it was.
Well, Scranton also had their boy running for VP, so.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Biden.
Yeah.
I always forget he's from up there.
Well, there's a general trend that, the urban areas are more open-minded, intelligent than and actually economically liberal in the classical sense of the word.
Yeah.
And people living out in the rural areas, whether you're talking about the English Civil War or the election of 2012, that basically holds.
Well,
and it's just because people in the cities want handouts. That's why.
Right.
Well, that's what Paul Ryan basically said. They lost because of the urban vote, which if you put that into the white boy translator, means black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or minority at best.
It's Lee Atwater speak.
Yeah.
But the fact is, I mean, in terms of having more socially liberal views and being more accepting of people who aren't like you, there's nothing that does that better than having to live with a big group of people in a tight space. There is that kind of more...
Multicultural?
Well, lack of multicultural.
Well, yeah.
If there's...
Isolationist?
Isolationist, yeah, in the rural areas.
It's really difficult for me to remember what I went on a drunken rant on in the last time I was here. But
why is that, Andy?
I don't know. I wouldn't call it a blackout, but it's probably more of a brownout, I think.
A Scott brownout?
Not like that. But I think I might have mentioned before that the base word for civilization is city dweller. And,
right.
I don't remember that from the last time.
Me neither.
Oh, good. So it's new material.
That's a good point.
Yeah. New stuff. Granted, I was drunk then too, but no, I don't think you brought that up in the last one.
Awesome.
Yeah. I don't know if we want to stick on this article. I do have to read this one paragraph here. This is from Orson Scott Card from NOM. They have a whole rant here from.
Wow. You know what? I'm sorry. I did not realize. Orson Scott Card.
It is that Orson Scott Card.
Sci-fi writer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an asshole.
Yeah, he's a total fucking asshole.
Wow, I did not. Wow. Huh.
Yep. Yeah, he's on the board of the National Organization for Marriage. Wow, Nick.
Yeah. So for those of you who like Ender's Game, sorry.
So you go along with this is a direct quote, and this is a big long quote here. You really should get on here and read it because it's just crazy. You go along with the big lie every day. You do it obviously and openly in these last weeks before the election, allowing Barack Obama to conceal, cover up, lie, all because, like good obedient party flacks, you know that nothing was more important than keeping the beloved leader in power. But far more likely is the other alternative, that faced with your monolithic groupthink, your insistent flacking for the beloved leader, your dishonesty that is equal to his dishonesty, your emula of Pravda, the Republicans in Congress will give up, Fox News will drop the story, and it'll all go away, and the beloved leader will continue in power. I just absolutely love his bringing up of groupthink, because this fucker not only is part of NOM, but if I'm not mistaken, Orson Scott Card's a Mormon.
Dude, you're killing my fucking world.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Arthur C. Clarke, still an atheist.
Still promoted the ideas of satellites years before space travel. Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't get over that whole monolithic groupthink line.
Coming from them.
I mean... Oh, and he's talking about a nuclear explosion in Tel Aviv. And I find this all very funny given what Israel's up to today.
I didn't see what they were doing today. What did they do today?
Bombing the fuck out of Gaza and killing kids.
Well, that's not new.
No, it's not. But of course, that doesn't matter because they're Muslim kids.
The number of times...
Jews, apparently.
The number of times I've gotten into the conversation where I just said, I don't really want to be involved in that argument at all.
What about Israel?
Yeah.
There's no level of rationality.
You can't win that argument because if you argue against Israeli policy, then you are anti-Semitic.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's ridiculous.
My argument against it was give them Wyoming. There's no one there anyway. I think Wyoming would make a great new Israel.
The important thing is that we have God's love to unify all those people.
Right, because God's not a divisive concept at all. and I mean, Israel itself, I mean, the funny thing is that Israel itself, the general populace is fairly secular.
Yeah.
But there is a certain part of the population that holds the government by its ballsack.
The Orthodox.
The Orthodox, right. The ones that are spitting on women, throwing rocks on women that go to school, and don't dress in accordance to their beliefs.
Well, the Haredim, the ultra-Orthodox, it's a very large, it's a growing section of the population. They're breeding like rabbits, basically. And it's affecting their economy. It's affecting their military. It's affecting all.
Right, because the Haredim do not have to
Are
be
they exempt from the military
They
service?
are exempt.
Yep.
Yes, the Haredim are exempt from the military service.
Well, no wonder they're the only ones breeding.
Yeah.
All
And
the other 18-year-olds are getting shot. That's messed up.
And they get a subsidy from the government for studying the Torah.
I just don't understand that part of the world, and I don't think we should participate in it.
No, you shouldn't. It's a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
And it's so transparent, the evangelical Christian need to prop up Israel. I mean, it's been said a million times. The only reason they give a shit about Israel is for the apocalypse,
Right.
for Revelations.
Right. They need the Jews to fulfill prophecy.
They need the Jews to convert to Christianity.
It's just a mess. Let's talk about something less depressing.
Yeah. Glenn Beck. No.
On to more religion. Yeah.
This isn't in the show notes yet, but while I was clicking on that Right Wing Watch, there's an article where Glenn Beck said, "If Americans are so dead inside that they reelect Obama, then we have to be destroyed." If that's not considered completely un-American and sedition, I really don't know what is. These conservatives that sit there and they tout the jingoistic, nationalistic line all the time, now suddenly they completely are reversing course because they didn't get their way.
Well, that's when I had my outburst against the outburst on election night. That was the point that I was trying to make. They talk about the Constitution all the time and how Obama is violating the Constitution. The Democrats want to destroy the Constitution. Blah blah blah. There they go, totally disavowing that what has happened is in line with the Constitution. For all of its faults, the United States and its peaceful handoff of power over the past 230 plus years is something that is really unheard of.
Yeah,
We've had a civil war, and we've had a couple of assassinations. The United States really is, in that respect, rather unprecedented to have had such a continuous, unbroken chain of peaceful.
Well, what's really interesting about this particular case, about how one racial group, right now in our country, giving up or the power changing hands from just being a white-dominated society to a more multicultural society. You think about Rome, and you think about how the Romans were never ever really able to integrate the peaceful Germans, the peaceful so-called barbarians really successfully, and that was the reason why the whole fucking chitter fell out of the pot, so to speak. They just didn't get it right.
Or even the Celts. I mean, even the parts that they subjugated early, Gaul.
Mm-hmm. Well, nobody was a citizen.
Right. I mean, those areas where they, as soon as they had the opportunity, they rose up.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't toot our own horn too much here, because I mean, it's been a long time since there was a civil war in Britain, in the UK.
Yes, that's true. At least special in that respect, that the United States is one of the few, if not one of the only, examples of a violent revolution creating a relatively peaceful nation.
Yeah, we had a conservative revolution. That was we were lucky in that extent, is that the English sent over a lot of the people who were the losers in the English Civil War, particularly, in the Northeast, and otherwise known as civilization to the rest of the country. If I could grab my masshole hat a little bit tighter.
Masshole?
Masshole, yes.
Oh, you never heard that before, Nick?
Well, I just think that this is something that we've been talking about on the site on and off for a good long time, about how this concept of real America that they present is just flawed on its face.
Yeah.
And what they're showing and calling real America is not really representative of what this country is. Which I think, Steve, you had that open letter to Conservative America post the other week. And that, I think that's kind of the core of that this tiny little group thinks of themselves as the whole country, but they're not.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
they have
the other map that I think Jack had shared. It's probably on Google Plus. I think that I saw it. Was where they adjusted the map of the United States. It was blue and red states, but they adjusted the map for population density.
Yeah,
yeah,
and
that's a good map.
They made the stats fit the states fatter and
right, and the red section of the country, that huge red swath that makes up most of the Midwest, the plains and the South, shrunk,
dramatically.
Well, their population density is really actually small, especially out west. Yeah, in my open letter to Conservative America, I make the point that they want to return to something that either never existed or something that no sane person would want to return to.
Right.
I mean, what are they looking for? 1950s Americana, and there's a lot of people that was not good for. It might be good. You know what? All four of us,
like anyone who was white or female,
would be okay in that society.
Yeah.
As long as we shut our mouths.
Yeah.
Adam wouldn't be.
Yeah, it really is a fiction to think that 1950s America was just like the quintessential place to be. You get guys, historically speaking, you get guys from maybe like 1805 America, and if they took a look at like 1950s America, they would be aghast at how many Catholics were just like hanging around with Protestants.
Right? Oh yeah. Well, there were riots. Is something I try to bring up to people who talk about public education and the lack of religion in public education. Is a lot of that has to do with Protestant versus Catholic in this country.
Yep.
There were riots and there were deaths in this country because Catholics had a problem with the fact that Christianity was being pushed in public education, but with the fact that it was the King James Bible that was being used.
Yeah.
As opposed to the Catholic canon.
I think that the reason that they think of the 50s as this ideal heyday was because the economy was booming in the 50s.
Right.
Yeah, and the television was just invented, and Leave It to Beaver was on later in the 50s and early 60s.
Yeah, and that was what
I think the same thing will happen later when people think back on the 90s, because we had the same thing in the 90s where we had the economy was amazing.
Right, and one of the things that's in common with the 50s and the 90s is that neither of those economic booms had all that much to do with tax policy or governance or
it had to do with science.
Social mortgage rules.
It had to do with science and technology and progress.
Well, in the 50s, that's post-World War II. The rest of the world had no infrastructure. We were the only ones making shit for people to buy.
Yeah.
Well, that's true, but we also in the 50s, and partially as a result of both our own innovations during World War II and our capture of German innovations from World War II, science flourished.
And the 90s,
and there was the Cold War there that science was pushed in schools because we had to defeat the communists, and they realized the only way to do that was to out-science them.
Yep, science and engineering.
Right. And the boom in the 90s was due to the internet, which was also an American innovation. And we were just ahead of the curve and could take advantage of the internet becoming a thing.
Right.
And now we're behind. The last thing we had election-wise was Huckabee was on The Daily Show the other day. And I just thought it was interesting because Jon Stewart brought up that commercial that he had. Basically, the point of the commercial was, if you vote for Obama, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
And Stewart called him on it. And he said, no, that's not what I said. I didn't say Obama in the commercial at all. It's just like, no, that was the point, though. So it's a really good clip, a very interesting interview bit. I tend to think that whenever one of these really high-level people goes on Jon Stewart, he's nice to a fault.
Right.
I really think he should go a little harder at these guys sometimes, but I understand it's a comedy show. It's really not his job.
Yeah, like his David Barton interview. His what was the one the other couple of years ago with the guy from Mad Money? That was great. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, the Kramer guy.
Yeah. Did anybody see the Bill O'Reilly, Jon Stewart?
I did, and it was awesome.
It was fucking awesome. I mean, not just the how the podium raised Jon Stewart up to be the same height Bill O'Reilly. But I mean, it's, Jon Stewart's like, no, you're wrong, and you're a conceited ass, and
Oh, the entire his opening statement on Bullshit Mountain was
right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So dead on. It did kind of portend the events of the election.
Yes, it did.
He said, "You're in your own little insular bubble, and you don't understand what's going on."
So, Jack, you would say that Stewart won definitely on points there.
I think in raw, yes, I think probably.
Although I would have to give O'Reilly credit, he did have much more comedic effect than I would have thought.
O'Reilly isn't as much of a talking head as a lot of other people at Fox News.
You're right. I would not say that he's as much of a talking head, but I would say that he is, while being less of a talking head, I think that he's more of an ideologue.
Yeah,
a true ideologue.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah, and that to some extent it's a dog and pony show between those two.
Sure, because I think they genuinely like each other.
I think
not a dog and 3 ponies for every American show.
Yeah.
What percentage of the vote did Vermin Supreme get, by the way?
It doesn't fucking matter.
And rounding out the election stuff, there was I don't want to call it big, but there was a very tight electoral race down here in Arizona over the newly formed Congressional District 9. So Kirsten Sinema is my new congresswoman, and I'm happy about that because I can't imagine that she's going to vote any way that I would have a problem with.
Right.
And it's kind of cool that Arizona has elected the first bisexual congressperson because that just has to make them apoplectic. The red chunk of the state probably can't stand that, and that makes me happy.
Goodbyes.
But there was a very palpable push during her run-up to the election by bloggers and concerned parties, which constantly pointed out the fact that she was non-religious. And immediately after they finished counting the votes, which took days, because Arizona is on the verge of becoming Florida in terms of fucking up elections, apparently. They're still counting provisional ballots out here. But immediately after, her getting the official nod, these letters went out where she was distancing herself from terms like non-theist and not religious, and basically pushing back on that point, which I find a little disappointing. And there's no way around that.
The part of me actually understands this from a political point of view, that it just might be too much for people to handle from a very cold, logical place.
Yeah.
She already has a lot going against her for Arizona, being a woman, being an open bisexual woman, being liberal. And at the same time, I understand what you mean. I do actually kind of fault Friendly Atheist for this, because they were the ones that were pushing she's an atheist. Woohoo!
Right. Who was raised Mormon?
Was she?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I can see why she ditched that.
She saw those Mr. Deity
Although
videos.
if you're bisexual and a Mormon, that could actually work out for you.
Yeah. That's a fantastic point.
Hey, sister wife, we both had the night off from the hubby.
But so part of me has a hard time getting too upset about this. And at the same time, Pete Stark lost, who wasn't the greatest congressman in the world, but
well, not only that, there was also the sexual harassment stuff that was going on with it.
Yeah, which a lot of people have glossed over. But I after Reason Rally, I kind of read up on Pete Stark, and not anybody I'd really want to associate myself with, to tell you the truth.
Right. he's kind of misogynist.
The fact that he was an open atheist has nothing to do with the fact that I would support him.
Right.
I'd support other theist candidates before I'd support him.
Right.
At this point.
Right, and that's one of the things about, Kirsten being elected is I'm perfectly okay with it. I wouldn't, her over the other guy, it's not even a contest.
Mm-hmm.
So her, and, she's still very supportive of the Secular Coalition for America. She's still very much for, freedom from religion. And I don't think that that's going to change at all. But you just kind of want that, validation.
Yeah, well, I think the problem, the problem I do have with this is what her people, because she didn't speak on it, but her campaign spokesperson or somebody said, here's the quote: "While Sinema's campaign was initially unavailable for comment after Tuesday's election, spokesman Justin Unga said Friday that Sinema does not consider herself a non-believer, adding that she prefers a quote-unquote secular approach. Kirsten believes the term non-theist, atheist, or non-believer are not befitting of her life's work or personal character, and she does not identify as any of the above." I think that's where it rubs a lot of people the wrong way.
Because it's kind of a non-answer, right?
Well,
it's a slap in the face. That's
I think it's exactly. I think it's more than a non-answer. It's more of a slap in the face. Like, I wouldn't fucking identify with those fucking people. Yeah. That's where it's like if they would have just let it at does not consider herself X, I think there would be less of a well fuck type of reaction to it. But the way they went on for that second sentence is just like, what the fuck does that mean? I guess we're still on the level of trust with rapists around here.
Right.
You can't associate yourself with an atheist because those fucking people are, just absolute. As I said in the last podcast, we're fucking toxic. But you know what? She'll get a pass because she is, a supporter of the secular. What is it? The Secular Coalition?
She spoke at the inaugural meeting of the Secular Coalition for Arizona.
Yeah,
I believe she got an award from CFI.
Yeah, and the Center for Free Inquiry, which is all great. I'm not trying to really bash her too much. I mean, I'm actually kind of bashing her spokesperson, this Justin Unga fucker. No,
His wording was bad. I mean, regardless of what he was trying to convey, which it came off as, political gobbledygook. Right. In my opinion. It's one thing to say, well, she doesn't really, take a hard line on that. Blah,
even
blah.
if you just say, look, she doesn't think that that's, a central issue to who she,
Right.
If you take the agnostic or none position where you say, it doesn't really matter to her.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Then and that's really where she falls. I think she falls into that none category where whether or not there is doesn't really have any bearing on, maybe she's a deist, maybe she's not, I don't know. But none of that has any effect on her policy positions.
Well, yeah, I've actually thought about this. Not that I would ever do it because I would lose horribly. But if I were to run for office, I would basically say, yes, I'm a non-believer. I'm an atheist. However, I support people's right to believe what they want to believe. I don't have to agree with everything. There's ways you can say certain things.
Right.
Because of course, if I'm running for office, I'm not going to say you can believe what you want to believe, and you're an idiot if you did.
But you're wrong.
At the Reason rally.
No, but seriously, like from a Thomas Paine point of view,
right.
You have every right to believe what you want to believe, and I have to, as an American, I have to defend your right for free expression, for free religion, and we don't have to agree on it.
Right. At Reason Rally, there was the other politician that spoke who was, said, I'm a Catholic, but, I will defend your right. I will support your right to have your beliefs, or non-beliefs. I can't remember which person that was.
Yeah, I can't remember what his name was either.
But and that's, to me, that's just as important because in the end, if you're not making policy based on these ridiculous, doctrines, and or B, you support my right to have my beliefs and not have your own beliefs enforced upon me, well, then you're okay with me.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
At least on one level.
I would, if there was an atheist candidate out there who was running on the idea that, you know, well, we need to really start, you know, banning religion. Well, I wouldn't really support them because that's
no, I would hammer them.
That is a violation of a person's, you know, right to freedom of conscience.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what ultimately it boils down to. You can't legislate or dictate what people believe. The only thing you can do is try to convince them, and that's what I think we try to do.
Right.
And this, I mean, Left Hemispheres didn't. No. Well, Left Hemispheres never started as or never was a trying to convince people thing. It was more of a place for people that already aren't.
Right.
But if somebody wants to come by and read some of our shit and debate, hey, cool. I'm always fine with people that are inquisitive and respectful. It's the God botherers that always piss me off.
If you want people to get on your shit, you should start busting on Hinduism. There's a lot of Hindus out there.
You know what we've gotten? You know, I don't know if anyone else knows this because I don't know if they've gone into the comments to see. It was a fucking post from a long time ago, way back when we still did Sunday Morning Hate, which was basically just the first year, maybe a year and a few months. His name's something like Patsoro Matsugwango or something like. No, I'm not fucking around. That's his name. He's the African Christian preacher that like had girls up on the altar and he would violate them in front of everybody.
Right.
The number of people that find our post on that and comment to defend him from Africa. The delusional nature of it too. Like, he's a good man. It doesn't matter what they say he did. I still believe. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So it doesn't have to be just. We've never banged on Hindus. I don't think.
But there is and maybe we should, because there is a significant.
Oh yeah,
Hindu creationist movement.
Yeah, there is. I've always just kind of stuck to Abrahamic because that's what I know.
Right.
Nick sent this. It's for the American Humanist Association's Kids Without God website.
I remember this, and this is one of those things that brings me back to, you know, that whole let kids make the decision at the age of reason thing.
Yeah,
this really kind of rubs me as going kind of a little too far on the pendulum, you know?
Yeah.
I would tend to agree. I also think that it looks a little too cheesy.
That, and let's face it, it's easier to keep kids in line if they think Santa's real for a few years. I'm just saying.
My kid's not old enough to understand that yet, so I can't hoard that over her.
Well, kids will figure it out. Like, my boy figured it out last year when he was 9. I guess that's the normal age for kids to figure out there isn't a Santa Claus.
I caught my dad getting the presents out of the attic.
Oh, there you go.
So...
yeah,
I guess that set me up for a life of doubt. I don't know if I would say this is indoctrinate him to atheism so much as that it's just a goofy. For me, as someone who grew up in a household that would have someone tried to push something like this on me in Christian form. I guess it smacks a little too close to home for me. I look at this and I see it. It's kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's the right angle to be.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying that's when I look at this, that's how I feel. I'm wow, this is cheeseball. I don't want to push this on my kid any more than I wanted to have the other crap pushed on me.
I'm not interested in having the God discussion with our kid.
Yeah.
But last night we were cuddled on the couch watching Mythbusters. And that's fine. I want, to teach them critical thinking skills and let them, figure that kind of thing out for themselves.
Right. But at the same time, I have the dilemma of I live very close to my in-laws who are very religious and have started attending a church that, well, let's put it this way. John Guest, who is the former senior pastor of this church, is a member of the ADF. the Alliance was now they're the Alliance Defense Fund.
Defense Fund.
Is that what, or the,
Yeah,
no, they used to be the Alliance Defense Fund. Now they are the Alliance Defending Freedom.
Oh, they're the Christian hate group.
Right, they're a Christian hate group. And they used to go to a ELCA church, which now that they're going to that school, to that church.
Are your kids going to that church, or your?
No. We don't at all. But my in-laws do, and because I travel a lot for work. When my wife has had other things to do, and my in-laws have watched my son, he has gone to Sunday school.
I'm sorry. That was the bile coming up in my throat. I'm sorry.
Yes. And I've expressed my discontent with this as well.
Yeah,
I don't believe that he has gone to any kind of Sunday school at the church they're going to now, which is the Christ Church at the Grove, or something like that. It's the church that Ben Roethlisberger goes to. You can probably Google some semblance of what I just said and find it. But they split from the Anglicans, from the Episcopalians, because of having gay and female clergy members and performing gay marriages, and so they're of that ilk. My in-laws, I never would have expected them to have gone that way, because they left the Missouri Synod Lutherans. Eventually, it's going to come to a point, because I've attended Christmas services at their former Lutheran church. Now I'm in this situation where they're in a church where not only would I not attend, but I would protest as to my son attending, and I would ask my wife to not.
Well, I'm going to ask you a stupid question. Is your wife working? Is that why she can't?
Yes,
okay,
she works.
Well,
yes.
Yeah.
Which is a sin.
Right.
Well, you know what makes that situation infinitely harder is when you send the kid off with grandma, and you're not the biological father.
Yeah.
And grandma's Hispanic Catholic.
Right.
I just want to go on my maybe my minute and a half rant about kids and religion. Is that anyone who and I don't know if I actually ranted about this last time, or maybe even at the Reason Rally when we were at, but I ranted about this on the blog a number of times. Is that in my house, I tell the kids that there isn't a God, just like I tell them that there aren't no such thing as unicorns.
There's no monsters under the bed.
We're not agnostic about Godzilla. No matter how awesome he may be, he is not going to be stomping through the neighborhood with radioactive fire breath at all. And I always say with a caveat, God is an imaginary friend. Some people believe in him. A lot of people believe in him, but you can't tell them that he's not real. They will get very angry at you at times. And, the kids understand that,
Yeah.
It's interesting, the stuff that I, will put my foot down about being myth and superstition, and the stuff that I'm considerably more adamant about coming from the geek culture that I've, come from.
I missed that. Did I just miss something?
No. It's a tangential story off of what you're saying. Where,
okay,
I'll be very adamant about critical thinking and science-based reasoning, but then me and the kid will be playing, and he'll say, "You're a Green Lantern," and I say, "I can't. I'm wearing yellow shorts."
Well, that's just being consistent with the world. That's all. That's totally logical. You got to know the rules to the game.
Exactly.
That's just universe integrity.
Yeah. We were talking about this on the last podcast about just children, and there's a responsibility both to your own children and to other children that both you and your kids interact with. And in the last podcast, that instance was with vaccinations. And I think that critical thinking, like what Jack was saying, and we all, I think we all lapse in this at times, because there is creativity and imagination are extremely important. And my son has an amazing imagination, and I do not want to stifle that at all. But at the same time, I'm trying to instill the ideal of critical thinking.
Well, you know what I do? I just lie to my kids at times. This is what happens. We're at the kitchen table over breakfast, and Will, my 10-year-old boy, he'll start talking about how he's been able to install trap doors all over the house. And I said, you can't do that because I have already installed trap doors all over the house. And Allie goes, who's 7, she goes, no, you haven't. It's like, yeah, there's one right underneath you right now. And she goes, well, prove it. It's like, I'll prove it by pressing my invisible button and you will fall down into the abyss. She goes, we go back and forth like this all the time, but I just make shit up and stuff that's completely insane. And it's like, yeah, completely. And we go through this kind of Socratic method of daddy, right, in the lieu of, daddy didn't really, install trapdoors all over the house.
So you're kind of training them to learn to prove you wrong. Right?
Exactly. Not that hard to do, my friends.
That is going to bite you in the ass. Teaching them to debate like that is going to bite you in the ass when they want a car.
We've already established boundaries about that. They already have bank accounts, to tell you the truth, and they know how much money they have in the bank account approximately, and they know what it's for. It's like, yeah, that's when you get a car someday, because I'm not paying it. I'm not paying
right.
you.
But I mean, this website. I mean, there's Kids Without God. There's good aspects of it. There's bad aspects of it. I don't want to indoctrinate my kids. I mean, we've all heard the mantra of, I want to teach my kids how to think, not what to think. And I think that this website,
it's awful.
Yeah, it's awful. It's
really
it's abhorrent.
Yeah.
It's the deeper you dive into this website or just like read it, it's just so cheesy.
Yeah.
And it does smack of what an idiot thinks is indoctrination.
Yeah.
Because as far as things go, the whole message of the thing is fine. It's just kind of the way they go about it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, in the site's defense, that I do think there is a need for resources to help non-theist parents explain to their kids how to understand people who are coming from different cultures outside of the household.
Right.
Which
is one thing I think that you use get right.
That's one of the things I think Sesame Street gets right for the most part.
Yeah.
Never had anything bad to say about that show.
Right.
Nope.
And there's something that we talked about kind of on the back page before Jack and Steve and Adam and I was about children's books, and there's a great couple of books about this character called Newton. The author is Rory Tiger, and it's about this teddy bear, and it the whole premise behind the two books that are out, which are almost 10 years old now, is about critical thinking.
I'm just reading through this site right now, and Darwin the dog has these 7 promises, and number 7 is, I promise to eat healthy, get plenty of sleep and exercise, and practice good personal hygiene. Yeah, I don't know, man. It just seems too easy to make fun of.
Yeah, it's very watered down. It's just kind of amalgamated
paste.
Yeah. Okay, so besides politics talk and getting way off topic this episode.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Let's try and drag it back to the script.
Yeah, drag it back to the script. Okay, what's next? The Sex in Christ.
Sex in Christ is fantastic. I found this because it's on Tim Minchin's website, on his contact page. He has this section where he talks about going to visit his fan base bulletin boards if you need to find stuff out about him, and because he can't answer all his emails. And he says, but if you're not a fan of his, you probably wouldn't like it, in which case you should go here. And he has a link to this Sex in Christ page, which is one of the funniest things I have ever read. I mean, the main page is anal sex in accordance with God's will.
Yeah, it's a thing of beauty. If you appreciate true blasphemy, this is the page for you.
Blasphemy, but if you appreciate rationalization.
Well, I say blasphemy because when you read this, a believer would just have an aneurysm. I just love the biblical references for stuff.
Oh, yeah. I that's one of my favorite parts is the spill the seed on the ground stuff. So blowjobs are okay as long as she swallows, but if you masturbate, you have to drink it yourself.
Ooh,
That's heinous.
Oh, it's fantastically wrong. Every last thing about it is a comedy gold mine. There's too much stuff to just go reading this page outright.
Oh yeah,
the hilarity of it.
So this is the poem of the week, because there's no way this is not true.
That being the case, then a proposal for Christian pornography is right up there with a modest proposal in terms of spot on satire.
Yeah, see, I really think this just about crosses the line to the point where it's not real, but it's so well done.
It makes the case that you can justify just about anything with that book if you want to.
Yeah. Well, it's not that far off. I mean, they're like the name of the website, Sex in Christ, and under that, sexuality according to the Word of God. There's actual books about that shit.
Mm-hmm.
What married couples should do, and like just weird shit. Like,
there are Christian sex toy parties
for Jesus.
Yeah.
I think this site first started off as some young guys way to attempt to figure out how to get his girl to do anal sex with him. That's basically, it's like, how am I going to get her to do this? I'll just make up this biblical stuff.
Anonymous domain hosting. That's a lot of work. Well,
some guys like the anal, I mean, maybe he's really motivated. I don't know. Well, maybe he's doing it as a public service,
Could be.
This is his gift. He's just trying to help other guys out. So Christian sexual aids, is that like the flagellation, the whip? Wasn't the whip really big amongst Catholics for a while?
Yeah.
It's the entire idea that women are allowed to enjoy sex, and that if they do enjoy sex, there's something wrong with them, so they need to be corrected.
That's what I've been telling my wife for years. I'm doing it right. You're not supposed to be enjoying this. 18 years of marriage.
Man, this is a hard segue.
It really is.
Literally, yeah.
Now let's round out with the Uganda thing, because that's another one that's on White House Gov for petitions to, impose sanctions on Uganda for this Kill the Gays bill and stuff.
Yeah. They only have the American evangelicals to thank for this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's who's been operating over there for 10 to 20 years.
Well, evangelical isn't necessarily. Well, when people hear evangelical, they think Protestant typically. Evangelical also means Catholic and Anglican, and that is also one of the issues that I have with the church that my wife's parents are starting to go to, is that they have missionary work going on in Uganda, and while they don't come out and explicitly say it, I mean, the very fact that this church split away from the Episcopalian Church because of these issues, and then they support missionary work in countries like Uganda, I am wondering how much is going towards things like this.
Into, you mean proselytizing in these countries?
Well, not just proselytizing. I mean, they
Financially
say
supporting.
right. I mean, they say that they have missionary work in Uganda, which obviously means they're proselytizing. But the fact that they separated from the Episcopalian Church officially in order to stand against what they would consider the pro-gay agenda in the Episcopalian Church would make me think that their missionaries in Uganda are supporting these initiatives.
It seems to me that there's got to be some sort of translation error.
No, there's not.
Well, not that there's a translation error in terms of what the various charges are for what specific offenses, but there's just something, to me, inherently funny about the phrase aggravated homosexuality. That means there must be some sort of not quite mismatch, or not quite match up in the languages to what those words mean.
Right.
Aggravated homosexuality is angry Republican in a bathroom stall who cries afterward.
and claims a wide stance.
But, it's a hard thing to joke about, but that particular phrase, And it's interesting that, that happens over there at the same time that we finally get states with voters actively passing gay marriage laws here.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, thanks for listening. We know this episode was a little more disjointed than usual, but
Blame me. I'm the reason.
No, not
I'm
really.
a bad influence.
But thanks, Andy, for being on.
Great to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice
Yeah,
to
thanks,
have you
Andy.
back.
Good to be back here sober, too. It's different.
He'll never come back. Hey, Andy, you want to participate? Oh, fuck you guys.
I have to wash my dog. We're late for church. Once again, everybody, if you have any questions, comments, etc., you can reach us at lefthemispheres@gmail.com, at Left Hemispheres on Twitter, Google+, Facebook, all your usual social media outlets. Look us up. And thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.